Yo, what's going on, guys? So in today's video I want to talk to you about blighted maps. So a lot of people are asking me what kind of builds are capable of doing blighted maps, what kind of amount of damage you need, defense and so on. So one of my goals in this video is to show you that you don't really need any specific build. If you know the mechanics and you are doing the blighted maps correctly, you should be able to complete at least lower tiers of blighted maps without like a really expensive or a good build. But first let's talk about the blighted map as an item itself. So to drop the blighted map you need to do the blight encounters in a map, and you have a chance to drop the blighted map from the yellow chest rewards, and there is always at least one yellow chest from each blight encounter. And the map tier depends on the map that you are in when you are doing the blight encounter. So after you get your map, there are a few things you can do with it. First of all, you can roll it just like a normal map, so you can use chisels, alchemy, and this way you increase the quantity, and implicit says that the quantity of modifiers also affect the blighted chest inside of the blighted map, but only at 20% value. So it's not like insane increase in profit, but it is a really good idea to do it if you can handle the modifiers. But it is not really needed, especially if you're doing lower tiers. You don't really need to use the alchemy, you can just make it yourself. You can just make it white, or you can use it, or you can use transmutation orbs on them and just do them blue with less amount of modifiers. So the second thing that you can do is you can use oil on them. So if you want the best rewards, you probably should use crimson or violet oils. So crimson will increase the chance that the chest will be lucky, which basically means higher chance for better loot. So in total you can have 30 blighted chests to be lucky. There is also the cheaper version of it. So the azure oil, which will give you 12 lucky chests. The other option is to use violet oil, which will increase the chance that the lane will encounter additional chest reward. So it is pretty good, but I believe crimson oil is better, although crimson is usually around 2.5 C and violet is a little bit less than 1 chaos. So it is a bit cheaper option, and I would say both of them are actually pretty good. Also, if you are doing the, I would say, lower tier blighted maps, it is a good idea to just make them faster, because lower tiers do not give that much loot anyway, so using the better oils to increase the chance for the loot is not that big of a deal. But reducing the amount of time it takes to blighted map, it is a good idea. So normally the encounter lasts 5 minutes, and with 3 teal oils you can reduce it by 2 minutes, so it will last only 3 minutes. Also, by the way, if you have awakened bonus, modifiers of non-unique maps are increased by up to 27%, and it actually works for the Annointments. So if you, for example, have 1 crimson oil, 10 chests will be lucky, but because you have 20% increase effect of modifiers, you will actually get 12 chests. So it is a good idea to have awakening bonus when you are doing the blighted maps. So the last oil that is really important is amber oil. So amber oil reduces the difficulty of the map significantly. So if you have issues doing blighted map, this is the first thing I always recommend to do. Try one map with 3 amber oils. This will reduce the cost of building and upgrading them by 60%, and it is also increased by awakening bonus. So you can build a lot of towers, and towers will basically carry you. So also, in terms of the rewards and tiers, one thing that you always need to remember is there is a big difference in rewards when you are doing tier up to 12 and if you are doing tier 13 and plus. Most of the people will actually end up buying only tier 13 plus at certain point, because golden oils, which are the most expensive oils, can only drop from the tier 13 and above. It's the same thing for silver oil, but I don't know exactly which tier, but I believe it is around tier 7, 8. So from that point on, you can start dropping the silver oils. And also with each tier, the amount of oils you drop overall increases significantly. So the map tiers matter a lot, but you can still make a decent profit from the tier 1 to tier 12 maps. So now what I want to show you is I'm gonna do the tier 6 blighted map with 3 amber oils, just to show you how easy it can be when you are using 3 amber oils. So I'm gonna try to not really do anything myself. I'm gonna try to focus on building towers and let the encounter be carried by blighted maps, by the towers I mean. So the first thing I like to do is just to stand in the middle and not really build towers, because I want to wait to see where there will be more lanes. Maybe there will be a better positioning for the towers. So obviously if you have to, you should start building towers, but I don't really like to do it at the start. So one thing I like to do is near the pump to build the towers that are basically CCing monsters. So there are 3 different types. There is a chilling one, seismic one, and summoning. So summoning will basically just stop monsters, chilling will slow them, and stunning will also stun them basically. And if you are upgrading them, they will have different effects when you upgrade them up to tier 4. So stunning towers will only stun them, but here as a tier 4 you have option to use a temporal tower, which will slow monsters down, and stone gaze, which will turn monsters into stone. So I always like to build the stone towers near the pump. Also, it is a good idea to buy one chilling and upgrade it into glacial cage. This will basically trap the monsters into cage near the pump, so this way when something is about to reach it, it will be stopped. So as for the damage, I mostly buy scout towers. So let's now just start building a lot of minion towers and just keep upgrading them into scout towers. So scouts are basically these flying monsters, and they have a long range and they will deal a lot of damage. The good thing about them is that when there is a lot of small monsters, they will split their damage and just heal multiple different monsters. And when there is one big boss, for example, which spawns in Blighted Maps, they will focus their damage on that boss, so they are very versatile. So they will do a lot of damage both for bosses and for clear. If you have a build that does a lot of single target, you should focus on the chain towers. So lightning tower, and you upgrade it 3 times into arc tower. So this tower has a really good clear. It will just shoot chain lightning, so which will chain into monsters. So it has a really good clear potential, but not that high single target damage. And opposite of that is the meteor tower. So you buy fireball tower and you upgrade it into the meteor. So it actually has the best single target potential, but it doesn't have that big clear. So as you can see, I am not even damaging anything myself. I am just building towers. I'm not really also focusing on Blighted Maps. Just build as many scout towers as possible. You don't even need to do anything yourself if you have amber oils. Obviously, because I have amber oils, I can build a lot of towers. So it is just gonna finish automatically. So let's in the meantime talk about other stuff. So in terms of mechanic, the most important part is bosses. So there's a lot of different bosses that you can encounter in Blighted Maps, but let me just talk to you about the important ones. So the one important one is the spider boss, because it will basically spew like chaos clouds, and it can deal a lot of chaos damage if you are standing in it. So it is a good idea to have a decent amount of chaos res, or at least be aware that it exists. So if you see it, just don't stand in one spot, just try to run around and do not stand in chaos ground. Another one is this one, which has the how do you call it, like a bubble around it, which will basically protect everyone around it from damage from outside. So if you see this boss, try to stand inside of it and then damage it. The next one is the Roa boss, and also there are monsters type that are also the Roas. And these monsters are quite rare, but when you encounter them, they actually die, and once you kill them, you will still see their icon on the minimap. Like for example, if I would kill them here, you would still see the red dots here. And after some time, they will resurrect and run again. And they will do it twice. And as for the Roa boss will resurrect. And after he resurrects, he will have quite small amount of life, but he will run super fast. So if you see a Roa boss and you see icon of the boss on the map, but there is nothing there, it basically means that the Roa will resurrect soon, and try to focus it. The next one is the Centaur. So Centaur has this big wave that he uses. So when he uses his attack, you see the animation of him like kicking the ground. And you might think that when he does it, there will be like a wave around him, but in fact that is not true. He will shoot a wave in front of him. So whenever you see Centaur like doing his special attack, do not stand in front of him, just try to run to the sides, even if you are far away, because the wave actually has a long range. And there is actually a one boss that is actually good for you when you encounter him, because this boss is the red golem. He has quite a lot of life and he doesn't really do anything, he just moves slowly, but when he dies he will split into two, and after you kill these two he will split again and then again. And the good part about it is that each time you kill any split boss, he will give you a lot of points to build towers. So very often if you encounter that boss and you kill him, you will gain like 5,000 or maybe even more points to build towers. So very often if you encounter that boss, you kill him, you basically won the Blighted map, because you can build so many towers, the encounter becomes trivial. So it is actually really good for you. And the last two bosses I want to talk about are the jumping bosses. So there is one demon which uses kind of like an volley of balls when he shoots, which is really dangerous, but also he will jump, and he actually can jump from one lane to, let's say, another. If you for example stand here and you just shoot around and there will be boss over here, there is a chance that this boss will actually jump on you and immediately reach the pump, basically finishing the encounter. So when you see the demon boss or the leaper, there are two jumping bosses basically, be mindful of that. So try to avoid standing near the pump. And when the boss reaches the pump, he will deal 10 damage to it, and you have overall 20 HP, so basically half of your life points are gone. Also, there are types of monsters depending on the portals, so you can't see it right now, but you could see earlier that, for example, here when there was a lane, there was the summoning icon on top of the portal. That basically means that these monsters will be resistant to minion towers, and what that means is basically it is different for each tower. So for example, if there is a minion, they will ignore minions. So if you don't upgrade the minion towers to scout, the smaller minions will start attacking the enemies and basically block their path. But these monsters will just ignore them and continue moving forward. For chilling towers, they basically are immune to chill, and so on for different ones. So technically you should try to play around this, and if you see a minion towers, build something different. If you see fire, build something different, but it actually doesn't really work out this way. You pretty much completely ignore this mechanic, and if you focus only on minion towers, especially scouts, there isn't really anything to counter it. There aren't counters to every single type of tower, especially the upgraded ones. So scout towers are not blocking anything, so there isn't really any counter to it. So this is also the reason why scout towers are so good. So in the end, you shouldn't really focus on that. Just buy mostly one type, most of the time just scout, and if there is any monsters that are immune to your type of tower, you can just kill them yourself. So the last thing not the last thing, but another thing I want to talk about are the anoints. So there are 3 things you can anoint, so 2 rings and 1 amulet. So amulet, when you anoint it, you will gain passive point from your tree. So for example, I have growth and decay, which is here, and I have it anointed as an enchant on my amulet, and I don't have to spend points for it, I just have it. And the second one is the rings, which you can anoint for the improvement of certain towers. So I, for example, am using double enchant with 25% increase range of scout towers, so 50% total. And you can check out the full list of these anointments on PoE wiki. So here is a full list of anointments. So for example, if you type scout, you can see all of the scout tower anointments, and you can see what kind of oils you need to use to be able to anoint that specific enchant. So if you want the increase range of scout towers, you need 1 violet and 1 teal oil. If you want, for example, for the meteor, which is the best for single tower, you would want the meteor towers drop additional meteor, so you would need 1 opalescent and 1 verdant. And for example, for chaining tower, there is 1 that increases the amount of chains. So to anoint them, you need to go, there are 2 ways. If you have the Blight tab, you can just do it here, and if you don't, you can go to Cassia and you bring your oil. So for example, violet and teal, if I remember correctly, and you put ring, 1 oil, 2nd oil, and you have your enchant. So the last thing is the uniques that drop from the Blighted Maps. So only from the pump, so here in the middle. So from Blighted Maps you get rewards per lane, you get different chests with different icons from different rewards, but you also get the rewards from the pump itself. So as you can see here, this pump will give you rewards depending on how many monsters you kill, and it's also increased by the quantity of the map. And this pump can drop the uniques. It is actually quite rare to see them, but you can drop them, and here is a list of all of the uniques. And the helmet is pretty much useless, not that many people are using it, but the gloves have pretty interesting stat, which is create a blighted spore when your skills or minions kill a rare monsters. So that basically means when you kill rare monsters, there will be a spore, and that spore gives you a certain aura. An aura is random, and there's a lot of different auras that you can get, and they are stationary and they will stay in that place. So these gloves are really good for the mechanics that you stay a long time in one spot when you are doing them. So for example, Blighted Maps and Simulacrums. Also, the one unique property of these unique items, you actually can also anoint them. So you can, just like Amulet. So if you are using these gloves, you can anoint them with different anoints. So for example, I could use Steel Growth and Decay on my Amulet, and on these gloves I could, for example, anoint Atrophy. And by the way, you can hold Advanced Mod Description button to see what kind of oils you need to anoint certain passive. And each of the uniques can be anointed. And the helmet can be anointed twice, actually. Or you can use the double lab enchant from Labyrinth. The second good item is Spore Guard, which is pretty rare. This will basically give you like a weaker version of Explode mod on a chest. So enemies you kill on fungal ground, you kill will explode, deal 5% damage as chaos. And you have this ground around you when you are stationary. So very often enemies will explode when you kill them. So that's basically it. I hope you learned a lot from it. One last thing I want to tell you is to think about Blighted Maps as kind of a progression system. So what you can do, if you want to farm Blighted Maps, you can just go to the trade, type in Blighted Map yes, map tier maximum 1, and you just buy the cheapest, the lower tier Blighted Maps, and you do them with amber oils. This would be basically like your first, the entry level Blighted Map. And by the way, to make them profitable, I highly recommend doing the chaos recipe. You get a lot of chaos doing chaos recipe from Blighted Maps because there is a lot of jewelry dropping from them. And at some point, you can start doing, for example, tier 6, still with anoints, the amber oils. Then at some point, you can start doing tier 6 with like teal oils or violet oils for better rewards, if you can handle not using amber oils. And then at a certain point you can start using alchemy to make them harder. Then you jump to tier 13s, and again at some point you start using the crimson or violet oil, and you start doing them alchemy, so yellow. And eventually you can even start doing them corrupted, and if you corrupt them, you have a chance to drop tainted oil, which is the new type of oil that basically let you use the oil anointment on corrupted items. So for example, if I corrupted my amulet, if I use the tainted oil on it, you could anoint it this way. So that's gonna be pretty much it, and I want to make more videos like that, and the next one is probably gonna be about simulacrums, where I'm gonna explain a lot of the mechanics around simulacrums and how to make them easier for you. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.